She arrived in Hong Kong on a humid August morning with a single suitcase, a folded contract, and the quiet determination shared by millions of Filipinos who leave home not for adventure, but for responsibility. Her name was Maria Teresa Villanueva, 36 years old, from a coastal town in Leyte where the sea fed families but never quite fed dreams. She wasn't chasing success. She was chasing stability for 2 children, aging parents, and a future that felt permanently postponed. To Hong Kong, she was officially labeled a domestic helper. To her employers, she was simply 8 Maria. To the city, she was invisible. She worked for the Lau family in mid-levels, a high-rise apartment overlooking Victoria Harbor. Mr. Lau was a senior executive at a multinational logistics and infrastructure firm, one of those corporations whose names appeared in glossy annual reports, airport billboards, and international business forums. Mrs. Lau managed social obligations, charity dinners, and a carefully curated image of success. Maria cleaned, cooked, picked up groceries, walked the dog, and learned quickly that in households like this, silence was part of the job description. But Maria had something most people never noticed. She listened. Before Hong Kong, she had been a bookkeeper at a small construction supply shop in Tacloban. She wasn't formally trained beyond a basic accounting course, but she understood numbers, patterns, and the way small inconsistencies could hide big problems. She didn't talk about this past. Overseas, skills that weren't listed on contracts rarely mattered. Her days followed a routine: wake before sunrise, prepare breakfast, iron suits, sweep floors. By mid-morning, when the Laws left for work and school, the apartment felt quiet except for the low hum of air conditioning and the occasional buzz of notifications from devices left charging on kitchen counters. It was during these quiet hours that Maria first noticed something strange. Mr. Lau often worked from home on Fridays. When he did, he held long conference calls in the study, speaking in English and Mandarin, sometimes switching to hushed tones, even when no one else was home. Maria never meant to overhear. Sound traveled easily through glass walls and polished corridors. She heard fragments shipping routes, project codes, offshore accounts, delayed inspections. At first, it meant nothing to her. Then she noticed the papers. Mr. Lau had a habit of leaving printed documents on his desk after calls. Maria never read them intentionally. But as part of her duties, she dusted, organized, and disposed of trash. It was impossible not to see the bold headers, the spreadsheets, the logos of subsidiaries scattered across continents. What caught her attention wasn't the scale. It was the repetition. The same project name appeared across different documents, but with different numbers. Budgets that didn't match. Completion dates that shifted backwards instead of forwards. Inspection signatures duplicated across files supposedly from different countries. Years earlier in Leyte, Maria had watched a contractor collapse after falsifying inventory records. The numbers hadn't added up then either. She remembered how small discrepancies hid massive fraud. She told herself she was imagining things. Weeks passed. The work continued. Sundays came, and Maria joined other Filipino domestic workers under HSBC's shadow in Central. They shared food, laughter, homesickness, and stories about employers, some kind, some cruel, some indifferent. Maria never mentioned what she was noticing. It didn't feel like her place. Then one evening, everything changed. Mrs. Lau hosted a private dinner with several guest men in tailored suits, voices low, confident, polished. Maria served wine and dishes quietly, trained to disappear into the background. The conversation drifted freely, helped by alcohol and familiarity. One guest laughed and said, "Once the Southeast Asia inspection is delayed again, we're clear. No one's going to question it now." Another replied, "Especially not from the Philippines. Those reports are already handled." Maria froze for a fraction of a second. The Philippines. She continued serving, but her heartbeat grew loud in her ears. That night, after the guests left and the dishes were washed, she sat alone in her small room and stared at the wall. She thought of home, of bridges built cheaply, of ports that cracked after storms, of news reports about infrastructure failures blamed on natural causes, of families like hers who paid the price. Over the next month, Maria began paying closer attention, not out of curiosity, but out of concern. She noticed encrypted emails accidentally left open. USB drives mislabeled and forgotten in jacket pockets she was asked to wash. Old drafts tossed into the trash, shredded poorly. She didn't steal anything. She photographed nothing. She only observed. What she pieced together slowly, carefully, was staggering. The corporation Mr. Lau worked for was allegedly manipulating safety, inspections, and compliance reports across multiple developing countries. Projects worth billions of dollars were being approved using falsified data, recycled certifications, and bribed third-party auditors. Infrastructure that should have lasted decades was being built with substandard materials, quietly, efficiently, profitably, and the risk wasn't theoretical. One internal document referenced a port expansion project in the Visayas region. Maria recognized the province name immediately. It was less than 2 hours from her hometown. That night, she didn't sleep. She faced a truth most people never want to face. She knew something dangerous, and knowing it changed everything. Reporting it could cost her job, her visa, her safety, her family's financial survival. Ignoring it meant living with the possibility that people like her parents, neighbors, or children might suffer or die from decisions made in air-conditioned boardrooms thousands of kilometers away. She did nothing for days, then weeks. The breaking point came unexpectedly. A news alert flashed on Mr. Lau's tablet one morning while Maria was cleaning nearby. A partial structural collapse at a construction site in Southeast Asia. Casualties unknown. The company name was not mentioned, but the project code was one she had seen dozens of times. Maria felt sick. That evening, she called her sister and lady and asked about the port project. Her sister said people were worried. Cracks had appeared earlier than expected. Officials said it was normal. Maria made a decision she never thought she'd have to make. She reached out not to the media, not to authorities, but to a Filipino NGO worker she had met once at a Sunday gathering. The woman worked with migrant rights groups and had connections to investigative journalists who specialized in corporate accountability. Maria spoke carefully. No names, no documents. Just patterns. Enough to raise questions. The journalist listened, then asked, "Can you help us verify this?" Maria hesitated for 3 days before agreeing. What followed was a slow, meticulous process. Maria did not break into files or hack systems. She only shared what passed through her hands legally as part of her work-discarded drafts, meeting schedules, inconsistencies she could recall. The journalist cross-referenced everything with whistleblower protections. Satellite data, leaked records from other countries, and former employees who had signed NDAs but were willing to speak anonymously. The picture that emerged was undeniable. A billion-dollar web of fraud. When the story finally broke, it didn't mention Maria's name. It couldn't. It described a domestic worker familiar with internal operations. That was all. The impact was immediate. Stock prices dropped. Government agencies launched investigations across 3 countries. Contracts were suspended. International lenders demanded audits. Mr. Lau was placed on indefinite leave, then quietly resigned. At home in the Lau apartment, the atmosphere changed overnight. Phones rang constantly. Lawyers came and went. Mrs. Lau cried in the kitchen once, not noticing Maria nearby. No one accused her, no one suspected her. She remained invisible until her contract was suddenly terminated for restructuring reasons. Maria left Hong Kong 3 months later. She returned to the Philippines quietly, without interviews, without recognition, without medals. What she returned with was something far more rare, the knowledge that her actions had mattered. The port project was halted and rebuilt under stricter oversight. New safety inspections were enforced. Lives, most likely, were saved. Maria went back to accounting this time for a cooperative that helped overseas workers reintegrate and start small businesses. She never told her children the full story. She didn't need to. In the public eye, whistleblowers are often portrayed as powerful insiders executives, engineers, analysts with access and authority. But sometimes, the most dangerous secrets are uncovered by people the world refuses to see. A maid who listened, a worker who noticed, a Filipino who chose integrity over fear. And somewhere in Hong Kong, in a high-rise overlooking the harbor, a billion-dollar secret unraveled not because of technology, power or privilege, but because one ordinary woman refused to look away.